AI.Stories presents Serendipity in Paris. Chapter 1. Serendipitous Encounter. Charlotte's footsteps echoed on the cobblestone streets of Paris as she walked along, taking in the sights and sounds of the city. She had always dreamed of visiting the City of Light with its iconic landmarks and rich cultural history. Now that she was finally here, she was determined to make the most of her time. As she turned a corner, she saw a small cafe tucked away on a quiet street. The sign out front read, Le Petit Jardin, in elegant script. Charlotte was drawn to the cozy atmosphere and the smell of fresh croissants wafting out from inside. She pushed open the door and stepped inside. The cafe was small, with only a few tables and chairs arranged around a central bar. The walls were painted a warm shade of yellow, and the windows were adorned with flower boxes overflowing with red and pink blooms. Charlotte ordered a cappuccino and found a seat at a small table by the window. She pulled out her sketchbook and started to draw, losing herself in the lines and shapes taking form on the page. As she worked, she couldn't help but notice the man sitting at the table next to hers. He was typing away on a laptop, his fingers moving quickly across the keys. Charlotte glanced over and saw that he was writing in French, his brow furrowed in concentration. Their eyes met for a moment, and Charlotte felt a spark of recognition. There was something about this man that drew her in, something that made her want to know more. As if sensing her gaze, the man looked up and smiled. "Bonjour," he said in a deep, smooth voice. Charlotte felt her heart skip a beat. "Hi," she replied, feeling suddenly shy. The man gestured to the empty chair across from him. "Would you like to join me? It's always more fun to work with company." Charlotte hesitated for a moment, then nodded. She gathered her things and moved to the other table, feeling a little nervous but excited at the same time. As she settled in, the man introduced himself as Alexandre. He was a successful businessman in his late 20s with a passion for art and culture. Charlotte couldn't believe her luck. Here she was, in Paris, sitting across from a handsome, charming man who shared her love of art. They talked and laughed for hours, lost in conversation about their favorite artists, books, and films. As the sun began to set outside, Charlotte realized that she didn't want the day to end. She and Alexander exchanged numbers and made plans to meet up again the next day. As she walked back to her hotel, Charlotte felt a sense of excitement and anticipation that she hadn't felt in years. She had no idea where this chance encounter with Alexander would lead, but she was excited to find out. Chapter 2. Falling in Love. As Charlotte walked the streets of Paris, her heart was full of excitement and anticipation. She had arrived in the City of Love only a week ago and had already fallen in love with its art, architecture, and culture. But it was not until she met Alexandra that she felt truly alive. Charlotte made her way to the small cafe where she had met Alexandra the first time. As she pushed open the door, the scent of fresh coffee and warm croissants greeted her, and she took a deep breath, feeling the excitement building inside her. She walked over to the counter and ordered a latte, then made her way to the back of the cafe, where she saw Alexander typing away on his laptop. As she approached him, Alexander looked up and smiled. "Bonjour, Charlotte," he said. "I am happy to see you again." "I could hardly wait to see you," Charlotte replied, feeling her cheeks flush with embarrassment. She had never been so bold before, but there was something about Alexander that made her feel brave. "Well, I'm glad you came," Alexander said, scooting over to make room for her at the table. "I was just working on some emails, but I could use a break." They spent the next hour talking and laughing, sipping their coffee and sharing croissants. Alexander told Charlotte about growing up in Paris, his dreams of becoming an artist, and the struggles of balancing his passion with his career in business. Charlotte, in turn, shared her own aspirations as an artist and her experiences growing up in New York City. As they spoke, Charlotte couldn't help but feel a deep connection with Alexander. His honesty and vulnerability were refreshing, and his passion for art was contagious. She found herself drawn to him in a way she had never experienced before, and she could tell that he felt the same way. As the morning turned into afternoon, Alexander suggested they go for a walk around the city. Charlotte eagerly agreed, and they set off together, hand in hand. They wandered through the streets of Paris, taking in the beauty of the city, the sounds of the people around them, and the warmth of the sun on their skin. They stopped at a small park and sat on a bench, watching as children played and families picnicked. It was there, with the Eiffel Tower looming in the distance, that Alexander took Charlotte's hand and looked deep into her eyes. "Charlotte," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I know we just met, but I feel like I've known you forever. Will you be my girlfriend?" Charlotte felt her heart skip a beat. She knew it was crazy, falling in love so quickly, but there was something about Alexander that made her want to take a chance. She looked into his eyes and smiled. "Yes, Alexander," she said. "I would love to be your girlfriend." As they kissed under the shadow of the Eiffel Tower, Charlotte knew that this was just the beginning of their love story. Chapter 3. Doubts. As Charlotte and Alexander's relationship deepened, doubts and obstacles began to surface, casting a shadow over their happiness. Charlotte's past heartbreak has left her hesitant to open up fully to love again, while Alexander is struggling to balance his passion for art with his successful career in business. One evening, as they sit in a cozy Parisian cafe, Charlotte's unease becomes palpable. She fidgets with the hem of her dress and avoids Alexander's gaze as she stirs her coffee. Alexander notices her discomfort and reaches across the table to take her hand. "Is everything okay?" he asks, his voice soft and concerned. Charlotte sighs and looks up at him, her eyes searching his face. "I don't know," she admits. "I'm just scared, I guess. Scared of getting hurt again." Alexander squeezes her hand reassuringly. "I understand," he says, "but I promise I won't hurt you. I care about you too much." Charlotte nods, but her doubts linger. She can't shake the feeling that their differences in background and career aspirations are too great to overcome. She's an aspiring artist, passionate about her craft but struggling to make a name for herself in a crowded field. Alexander, on the other hand, is a successful businessman who's made a name for himself in the corporate world, despite his passion for art. As they finish their coffee and say their goodbyes, Charlotte can't help but wonder if they're on two separate paths that will eventually lead them in opposite directions. She wants to believe in their love, but the fear of heartbreak is ever present. Over the next few days, Charlotte and Alexander spend less time together, both lost in their own thoughts and uncertainties. They exchange the occasional text or phone call, but their conversations are stilted and lacking in the easy banter that used to characterize their interactions. Charlotte felt consumed in her doubts and threw herself into her art, as Alexander became increasingly busy in his corporate life. She feared that moving to Paris might have been a mistake. Chapter 4. Hope. Charlotte and Alexander sat across from each other at a small bistro in Montmartre. It had been several weeks since they had last seen each other, and their reunion was charged with tension and anticipation. Charlotte took a deep breath, trying to calm the fluttering in her stomach. "Alexandra, I know we've both been busy with our own lives, but I can't stop thinking about you. I think about you all the time," she said, looking up into his deep brown eyes. "I feel the same way," Alexander replied, taking her hand across the table. "I've been trying to convince myself that we're not right for each other, but the truth is, I can't imagine my life without you in it." Charlotte's heart swelled with emotion. She knew there were risks involved in pursuing a relationship with Alexandra, but she couldn't deny the depth of her feelings for him. "I don't want to hold you back from your career goals," she said, her voice trembling slightly, "and I don't want to get hurt again." "I understand your fears," Alexander replied, "but I don't want to lose you. I know we can make this work. We can support each other's dreams and find a way to balance our individual ambitions with our love for each other." Charlotte felt a weight lifting off her shoulders. She realized that she had been holding back, afraid of getting hurt again, but now she felt ready to take a leap of faith. "Alexandra, I want to be with you," she said, smiling through the tears in her eyes. "I want to be with you too," Alexander replied, leaning across the table to kiss her. They spent the rest of the afternoon talking and laughing, reveling in the joy of being together. As they walked through the winding streets of Montmartre, hand in hand, they knew that there would be challenges ahead, but they were ready to face them together. The sun was setting over the city, casting a warm glow over the buildings and people below. Charlotte and Alexander stopped at the top of a hill, overlooking the city of love. They held each other tightly, watching as the city lights twinkled in the twilight. "Let's take a chance on love," Alexander said, his voice filled with hope. Charlotte smiled, feeling a sense of peace and happiness wash over her. She knew that their future together would be full of ups and downs, but she was ready to take that risk. "I'm with you," she replied, leaning in as he pulled her in for a kiss. As they stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, they knew that they had found something special, something worth fighting for. And as they gazed out over the city of Paris, they felt a sense of hope and possibility for the future. The end.